Video game voice acting. It's always been a subject of intrigue, but over time its importance has grown. From Resident Evil's famous Jill sandwich line,
almost a Jill sandwich,
you're right,
to today's outstanding performances, we've seen the standards rise. 20 years ago, performances were often done by volunteers or developers of the actual game itself. But nowadays, we've seen motion capture performances of celebrity actors like Keanu Reeves, Idris Elba and many others. It's fair to say voice acting performances in video games are more vital than ever. It can make the game, or it can break the game. As a huge fan of the work that goes into video games, I wanted to get a perspective from someone with experience in this role. That is when I got a chance to sit down with Jas Patrick. Jas Patrick is a multi-award winning voice actor and is featured as main characters in huge video game titles such as Octopath Traveler 2, Dead Rising, Chivalry 2 and many other video games. He's also been a part of projects on Netflix including Scissor 7. After playing Octopath Traveler 2 myself, I was particularly impressed by his performance as Partitio. After reaching out, Jas was kind enough to agree to sit down with me and answer all the questions I had about the voice acting process in the industry. But before we get into that, here's a quick key. The guy on the left who looks cool as a cucumber, that's Jas. The guy on the right who looks like he hasn't seen the sun in 10 years is me.
I came up, my dad was a musician. He was with a major country artist. But he started out, just in the clubs and stuff. So I was around it all the time, and I loved drums, drum set. So I started playing drums when I was 4. It was just something that I did all my life, and I got on my first major label pro tour when I was 18.
Yeah.
And toured a lot of the United States and national TV, and it pretty much ruined me for anything. So I just spent my young life thinking, oh, I'm going to be a drummer. That's when I'm going to be like my old man. And then Napster hit not too long after my tour. And I had a bunch of auditions for various bands and things like that were, being a hired gun, going out with major label country artists and stuff like that, because I'm from Nashville. I also was a songwriter because I saw the guy my dad was with, he wrote his own songs, and so he made good money and all that, and he wasn't just an artist singing other people's songs, he did his own stuff. So I started writing songs and all that. When it started to dry up, I started to work on my own music and write and sing and things like that. Never liked my singing voice. A lot of people did, because I have a very unique voice, as you can hear. When I sang, I had a really bluesy voice, and it never really fit for me. I was always nervous or something on stage. I was never afraid to really take the plunge, but it's an interesting thing. I was always confident and fine playing drums, was never as at home playing guitar and singing and being the lead guy, which is funny because I've never been more fearless in voice acting. You put me, I can be cold, you put me in front of anybody, I don't care who it is, and I'm fine. I'm relaxed and do my job just fine, but it just, being a singer and all that sort of thing, and being the lead performer, it just didn't work for me. But I toured around and did stuff, and I got critical love. A lot of people, because I did really, my music was really different. I put in world influences, but because of my voice, it was always just kind of stuck in blues rock. But it was never blues rock. It was kind of more experimental kind of rock, but not like weird experimental. It had a beat you could dance to it, things like that. It had hooks, and I was trying to be commercial, but the music had changed by that point, and it just wasn't getting anywhere. And I was touring all over, and driving from Nashville to like someplace in Ohio, I would drive 10 hours to the hotel, if you can call it that, motel, unload all the gear so it doesn't get ripped off out of the van. And then you put all the gear back, drive 20 minutes to the show or 10 minutes to the show, wherever it was, unload all the gear, play for 6 hours, and then load all the gear back up, go to the motel or hotel, unload the gear again, then 4 hours later load all the gear back up and drive to the next show. And it was killing me, and I wasn't making very good money. Yeah, it was terrible, and I was the only one playing by that point. I'd gone through bands and stuff. So it was abject misery, and then through the week I'd be editing down the videos of live footage and putting it up on YouTube, or trying to shill the albums and stuff, and it just, it was terrible. But I had a really great studio with excellent gear and all that sort of thing, because I made all my own albums. So my wife and my engineer were both saying, you should do some, voiceovers, or you should use your studio through the week, to do something else. And, it got kicked around, video editing, writing jingles or commercials. None of that really worked for whatever reason. I don't know, just didn't really want to do it. And I was really burnt out of music. And somebody said voice acting. I thought, well, what's that? And for whatever reason, Vicky had a person she went to college with write this article or this TED talk or something like that. And it was about the gig economy. And one of the people they were talking about was this person who was making a living on Fiverr. I went to other sites, but it showed us, okay, well, this can be done. This person can do it. So then I spent 3 or 4 months just studying voiceover, making demos, practicing, working at it, and listening to demos and things that people had on the highest agencies, some of the biggest in LA. I listened to what they were doing. I'm like, I can do that. So after 3 months or 4 months or whatever, listening to every podcast, every video, just whatever I could find on VO, I did my first audition, and 6 days later I booked my first gig. It was an Irish accent for a big candy bar company in Eastern Europe. It's really unheard of. You don't book that fast. Some people, it would go a year or more before they book one gig. But for me, I just went like this. I went straight up, just never looked back. And I happened to be really good at it for whatever reason. It's probably the music, and they call it an empathetic ear. I can hear something and not have to see their voice, see their mouth move or anything. I can just reproduce it. That was how I got into voice acting. I always tell, any students or whenever I teach at VO conferences and stuff that don't do it the way I did. I made all my own demos. You're never supposed to do that. But I did everything wrong. And because I had the ears that I have from music and things like that, and I had the gear already and the space that's quiet, as you can hear, it was a matter of convenience and luck and having what I had and using the tools that I had to do something different. And I just happened to be good at it. There was Warhammer 40,000. That was early, and I did about 30 different monster and enemy sounds. So it's Inquisitor is the one it is. Yeah, so I did a bunch of creature sounds. So I did a whole lot of that. That was early on. But another really early on one was Dynamite for Brawl Stars.
Who wants some TNT? Not bad for an old timer.
And that came about because of Clash Royale, which they wanted me to rap, which it's weird. I've been asked to rap in character a lot. And I'm not a rapper, but rhythmically, again, it was weird because I did a bunch of voices, and it was for the Night Witch or something like that for Clash Royale. It was a new character they were introducing for Halloween. So I rapped and did kind of a Beastie Boys kind of thing with 3 characters, and then like an Anthony Kiedis kind of thing from the Chili Peppers, and then mixed it all together. And they had the Night Witch doing her main rap, the female, the woman who was doing the rap. And then I rapped behind her, and I was kind of like her b-boy posse, as all these different rappers, some of them down here, other ones up here, so it was all these different, so they stacked really well. So I did that, and then they came back, and I don't remember how in the world that came about, but they, for whatever reason, they had me do that for Clash Royale. And then they came back because they were making a new game, Brawl Stars, and they wanted, again, a rap, but they wanted it as a manner. So that's where Dynamite came from, and I did the song brace yourself for blast, because here comes Dynamite. This crazy old coot and his bird are here to bring the boom. Yeah, I can't believe I can remember all the words. Yeah. But so that was just a song, and it was a promo for the new game. And then they decided they were going to put voices in it and make the characters have voices. So they came back to me and said, if you don't do it, we'll get somebody else to do it, so will you do it? And I was like, I guess, put me at gunpoint, why don't you? Sure, I'll do it. So I did it, and then it took the hell off, man. I can't believe how many Brawl Star players there were and stuff. And I didn't think mobile games got that kind of a player count, but that brought like, some smoke, some heat right away. Not in a bad way, but in a good way. People were really, the kids, especially younger kids, they loved Brawl Stars. That was an early one. Games that were more my speed, it was like Chivalry 2. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that one, and I'm 2 playable characters in that one. And that was super fun. Those guys, Tripwire and all that, they're a lot of fun. We had a real blast. Heroes of Newerth, which was an old, I think it was very similar to that League of Legends. I think it was much bigger in Asia and China and things like that. But I did a character for that, so that was a fairly big game too. That came through that was the bigger games like that are agents, and I was in LA to get that, so that's a much smaller pool that they were going for. So that one came through an agent. That was like a big game. You know what I mean? Square Enix.
Yeah.
I played them since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I grew up with Square Enix. They have their write-up of what they say it is, and that's not always clear. With Frank especially, there wasn't a lot there. With Partitio, there was a little pixelated guy. So there was a drawing, and then there was the pixelated guy. And for whatever reason, they wanted a country southern accent, which to me, I was really nervous about, because I was like, a country accent, southern U.S. accent in a JRPG or a 16-bit, 32-bit looking RPG. Are you sure? Because then I got a little nervous when I was doing it. I was like, am I going to be the only Southerner in this game? And they're like, no. The area you're in, there'll be other sounds. Like, oh, thank God. And so that was really funny, because when my trailer came out for Octopath and they heard Partitio, oh boy, right away, what is this? A Southern guy? No, we don't like this. Boy, there was a lot of blowback on that, which was really kind of funny, because he's ended up being one of a fan favorite. So and it it depends on who you ask. There's plenty of people like Hakati and and Oswald and everybody did a great job with that. Howard and Alejandro and there's just, everybody was really cool in it. There was a lot of great ones. So for people of any amount or whatever to say Partitio's their favorite, I'm stacked up against the big doggies, so to me it's amazing, and I love it. I'm so happy that they like it, because I will tell you, I was nervous as hell, and then it came out and it was like, man, I knew it in an RPG, a Southern guy. Oh man, they're gonna hate me. And then after, once the game came out and they got to see, because just from the trailers, it didn't look good. It didn't look good. Even the publications are kind of like, huh? So yeah, it got my blood pressure up a little bit in terms of worry, but it's only because I want it to be good.
Yeah.
And I never go in and tell a director what I'm going to do or something. You know what I mean? You do what you're told. So I did what they asked me to do. And, and Jamie it's not that I ever doubted him, but it's just, you wonder, why would they do Southern? It seems so strange. And then they wanted him super, super likable, and it went through, and my gut was to kind of make him a little cooler, not quite so aw shucks. So you can hear, but that actually helped, because that little push pull between them wanting me to be super aw shucks and me trying to make him a little cooler. Mm-hmm. So when he's dangerous and angry, he's got that cooler vibe. But then when he's, just going through playing, as we say in the U.S. and the southern U.S., we say country dumb, which, you pretend like you don't know what they're talking about. Like, oh, I ain't heard of that. That's new. but at the same time, you're playing, you're just laying back in the weeds to let them, think you're dumb, but you're not. So that's an old school Southern trick, and it's called playing country dumb. So Partitio does that like so well, and so that's really interesting. And Jamie, of course, did all the the Legend of Zelda stuff, and he knows that Nintendo RPG kind of thing. So I was just like, okay, catch me. I did a trust fall,
Yeah.
but please, let it be awesome. And couldn't have been better. I mean, like I said, it was scary when it first came out because people were like, "What is this?" And then once they played the game, all of a sudden I started getting all this love, and Partitio is my favorite, and this, that, and the other, and I mean, that's a handmade doll somebody made for me, and there's the love, seeing and in Comic Cons and things, or conventions, anime conventions and stuff. People dressing up as part. I mean, I've seen where there's like 11 Partitios
Wow.
taking a picture together, which is insane. It's just wow. What an amazing, what an amazing thing. I'm just glad it turned out as well as it did, and they didn't hate me. Well, as I've said, I didn't know that I was Frank until 3 minutes before I went in the booth.
Wow.
They don't tell you. I didn't know what I was auditioning for. It was they in the audition they made it like aliens instead of zombies, and you didn't get any pictures because that would have given away the farm. I would have known exactly who it was. When they wrote and said, "Congratulations, you got it," my character's name was S1. It didn't say, "Congratulations, you're Frank West." They just said, "Congratulations, you got it. Can you come in this particular day and do it?" So when I got there, and this is funny though, because I went back through, and I've told this story, so I'll make it short, but when I got it and they booked me, they cast me as Frank. Again, I didn't know it was Frank, but I went through the auditions because I had auditioned for several of the other characters: clown, shopkeeper, "Get out of my store," Kent, and the gun shop owner, and yeah, I think that was it, but maybe there might have been something else, I'm not sure. But also Frank, of course. When they said I got it, I went back through the auditions and tried to figure out what it was, just so I'd have some idea of what was happening. And from Kent's sides, his lines, it seemed funny, like there was humor in it. And I thought to myself, and this is hand to God, legit, like 4 or 5 days before, I thought, it'd be cool is if this game was like Dead Rising. That would be awesome. Legit thought that. And then I told my wife that 2 days before, and then when I went to the audition, I got there, and they said, "So, you're going to be playing our main character. Are you familiar with Dead Rising?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." And they were like, "The protagonist?" And I was like, "Frank West?" And they were like, "Yeah." And it was like, "Oh, good. You know who he is, so we're not going to have to explain this to you. You're Frank West." And I had to sit down on the couch that was behind me. I kind of plopped down, and then I jumped up, and I went to like go hug the director who I just met. It's probably not a good idea. So I went to hug him, and then I like caught myself and just patted him on the back awkwardly and stuck out my hand and shook it. And I was like, and I said, "Holy shit," and so he got a big kick out of that. And then, as I said, this is, true. It's exactly how it happened. 3 minutes later, I'm doing the helicopter scene. But that's how it is. That's what we do. We're cold on everything because they have to protect the secret of it. Because if it gets out or whatever, they want to control all that. And it's I mean, you want a marketing strategy. You don't want things leaked. So I was blown away. I just, whoa, Frank, are you kidding me? It is, but I was more blown away with Frank, of course. But when they told me what Partitio was and what the game was, I was blown away then too. I was like, Octopath, they're making a sequel? I thought it was just going to be in the mobile game, like some DLC character on that, small character.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be one of the 8 in the sequel. It blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. Both of those are, 2 of my favorite characters. You just put in Daibo. Those are my 3 top characters. Scissor 7. It's weird. Yeah, it's weird. You get used to it. after, especially with Octopath, because it's an RPG. So every battle you hear, I got more grit than I can handle. You hear it over and over and over and over again, yeah, and so you hear all this stuff and you get used to it with that. With Frank, it's a little different because he's, some of the stuff you hear him, you get used to when he falls, shit. But, great, nice, and things like that. You get used to hearing that. But when he's doing a cutscene or something, that's wild, because here comes, it's Frank West, man. It's Frank West. It's crazy. And then your voice comes out of it. So you're taken out of the game I am. So you lose a little immersion, but then, also you're trying to screen cap it and record it so you can put it on YouTube and be like, this is my favorite part. And yeah, it's just wild. And then it's remembering, because sometimes you'll spark a memory of being in the booth recording, and you'll remember, oh yeah, I remember doing that line. And so yeah, it's wild. It's wild. Never really get used to it, honestly. So, and it's funny with my wife, because she'll hear it. They'll hear me especially with Frank, come on, follow me. They hear me doing that, and it's like, are you yelling for me? No. So that's a funny thing. People hearing you, and then and some of my friends that play it, they'll hear me and they're like, it's so weird hearing you talk to me through my headphones. Got a badass rocking job, but for me, the video games and the anime and stuff like that, that's the fun stuff for me, because I'm a commercial voice actor. Yep. And I do e-learning and things. That's what I do the most of, and I'm in here 7 days a week, without maybe sometimes I get lucky and get it all done and I'll be 6 days a week, but yeah, I'm always in here. So, and I'm doing the things that you would think. I do commercials and e-learning and things like that, so I'm doing that kind of stuff, which is very, that's normal voice acting. That's what the most of what it is. If you hear a disembodied voice, welcome Kroger shoppers, that's a voice actor. That's someone doing what I do. So anytime there's a disembodied voice, and when you realize that, when I learned that when I first started voice acting, I was like, wow, there's a lot of. So you realize, car commercials, everything. It's in radio. It's not just internet stuff. Yeah. So it's not just video games and anime. I wish it was, just because that's the super fun stuff. But there's a lot of fun commercials too, because it's and actually e-learning isn't what you would think. I'm not traditionally beautiful golden voice, like an announcer type thing. And e-learning back in the day was very blah blah blah, very structured and boring. But then they started making it very conversational, because people learn better when you step over here, do this, move your mouse there, and at the top of the screen you'll see this. And so that's where I came in, was the reads had become very conversational. And as you can hear, I sound very conversational when I talk. I have a very relaxed delivery, and so it goes over well in e-learning and in commercial and things like that. And I have a super weird, unique voice that doesn't sound like anybody else. So the producers and the production houses that are a little more on the edge, they're wanting to make something different and stand out, they'll use me versus the golden voice boy. So I have a career because of it. That's basically what I do. But so, Partitio, and you can see where it's literally like you work an office job. That's what I tell people. I have an office job that I sometimes talk into this. It's all admin stuff, emails, and invoicing and this, that, and the other, and editing. I do. You would know. I do a lot of editing of my stuff, taking out breaths or doing this or fixing it up or making it nice. So it's just a desk job. And then I get to do something cool, like drive down into Burbank or Santa Monica or something like that and be Partitio or Frank. Already got it. Dead Rising. Yeah, Dead Rising, OT2. I wish more people knew about Scissor 7. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. It's on Netflix. It's amazing. It's hilarious. I mean, an RE game, but the fact of the matter is all the main characters in that, they're, nobody's going to replace Nick, not for a long time. He's an awesome Leon, and the rest of
Yeah.
it. Um, and you wouldn't want to. I wouldn't be. I'm too gritty to be Leon. Oh, you know what? BioShock. I love BioShock. Oh my God. BioShock or Dead Space, any of those would be super cool. But as far as as far as a main character, man, you can't beat Frank.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, I just want to play Frank as long as they'll let me, you know.
Yeah.
So hopefully there'll be DR2 off the record, and I believe he's got some screen time a little bit in 3, obviously 4, but a new one, DR5 would be awesome. But I'd love to play Partitio again. It,
Hmm.
that seems less likely. I had hoped that Super Smash Brothers would put Partitio in, and I'd get to be Partitio again. That's what I hoped after I did Partitio. I thought, oh man, if they put him in Super Smash Brothers or they put him in something like that, that would be so cool. And so yeah, those characters anytime, any day, any place. But I mean, how are you going to top Frank and Partitio as far as like main characters? It's couldn't ask for more. So as far as being in other stuff, yeah, I would say like BioShock and Dead Space. Those are cool. I've always wanted to be in any type of Blizzard game, but again, it's just getting the call, whether they, getting the opportunity to do it. So.
A lot of people have argued against video games being considered a form of art, or a lot of people consider it as a lesser form of art than other mediums like film, music, writing. I asked Jace for what his take was on this.
They've been an art form for a very long time. Go back and a Baldur's Gate 2 or something like that. Eh, was Super Mario Brothers considered art? I mean, it depends on what you think. I mean, there was artistry in it, and it was but as games progressed into more of a art form in that sense. But man, I loved games. Warcraft 3 to me and StarCraft, those were hugely compelling stories. You used to get like when you got Warcraft 3 and you bought the disc, there would be a instruction booklet this thick. I have Warcraft books that are Bibles, and there's, it's a trilogy. It's like reading Tolkien or something. Easy internet. I understand it's not as great as Tolkien, but you know what I mean. It's like that. It's a whole lore structure, which is really cool. So yeah, World of Warcraft and Warcraft, the IP, it's got its own Silmarillions and stuff like that. It's incredible. Illidan's story in particular is super awesome. What a cool character. And everybody loves Arthas, but I love Illidan. But so Warcraft 3 is a great example. I mean, you're Arthas, you're the good son, the prince of the kingdom, and then you become a bad guy. Whoa, that was a twist. That was super cool. Yeah, and the Lich King and all that. It's so neat, man. These people that think it's only now I'm gonna mispronounce it, Dostoevsky or however you say it, is the only, you can't have graphic novels or comic books, but Preacher, it's a raw graphic novel, but it's a crazy cool story, and they actually made a good show out of it too. But yeah, those things, there's some really compelling storytelling and all kinds of things. But again, where do you draw the line? Is a fantasy novel not art? Is Stephen King not art? If you like something basically mainstream, it's kind of like if you like some pop song that's real cheesy. Does that mean it's not music just because it's from mass consumption? It's just you start to get in your purist and honestly your egotistical people and people that are looking down their nose on anything creative. It's kind of like, why do you have that opinion? If you don't like it, you don't have to play a video game. If you're not a video game person, nobody's going to make you do it. But to say that it's not worthy or it doesn't have some sort of artistry to it, or even just being considered art itself, I think that's myopic. I personally, but I've played video games all my life. I'm a gamer,
Yeah.
And I think there's some amazingly beautiful games out there. I mean, like Silent Hill 2, I'm playing that now. Damn, is that moody and awful. You feel terrible walking through that game because it's just like, oh, this is such a bleak thing. But there's all that metaphor in it. It's all really cool and it's beautiful. I said this before, the devs that did the backgrounds and the environment artistry and stuff like that and the sound design, incredible. Man, just walking through Silent Hill that first time when you get to town, the fog's there, the light stoplight hanging stoplights are
Hmm.
you making all this noise, you hear things walking through water puddles and that's beautiful, man. If you can't say that that's beautiful, then you don't like, as far as I'm concerned, you don't like movies either because it looks like a movie. Now, the James looks like a video game, but some of the environments don't. They look like a movie. Trying to do that for a while. Like Hideo likes to do that, and obviously, Mortal Kombat sometimes puts in a lot of, well, they put in a lot of stars on that latest one. I mean, Van Damme was in it, and was Megan Fox, yeah, Megan Fox, and yeah, I mean that's cool, but for me, I don't really care who the actor is as long as they're killing it, as long as I'm immersed and into it as a gamer.
Yeah.
And I think some get a lot of love, but you have to remember that if it's immersive and you're digging it, there's a lot of little bits and bobs throughout there that the NPC talking, those are good actors too. If
Hmm.
you're immersed, if you're digging it, you're feeling it, and you don't go, somebody gives a really wooden or bad performance or something. If you're going through the whole game and you're in it, you feel like you're in it, then that's good acting.
Lastly, I wanted to see if he had any advice for those who wanted to have a career in voice acting. I asked him to be as honest as possible.
Well, the joke is always be an engineer, be a doctor. And I don't say that from a mean place. It's just that it's really hard. It's a lot of rejection. Uh, you have to be for the bigger games. You have to be in LA, or New York or London or something like that. Unless you're have a very unique accent and you're a very specific background or nationality or something like that, or because there's more of that, there's starting to be way more types of games that have, but again, it's kind of what they're, as a voice actor, you have no control over it. It's just what they're making. If they're going to make a game that is X and you happen to be X, then you can have a shot at it. But you also have to be, it's called voice acting. A lot of people forget that. You have to be a good actor. You have to have something. You have to have chops. You have to have talent. You have to have, and work ethic and all that. Anything in the arts is going to be so much harder than doing anything like that. So you have to have business acumen, you have to have stick-to-itiveness, you have to have thick skin, you have to have guts, you have to have heart, as well as talent and time and this, that, and the other. And for voice acting, you have to have environment and gear, and a lot of people are like, oh, can I do it with a USB mic or something? No, of course not. Not if you want to do it on a real, an actual professional level. Now that will polarize some people in the VO community because they love, this is one of those arguments that they just love to have. But here's a good way to think of it. Let's say you're super talented, right? And I see a lot of people say this and they never get it right because they say, well, I did it and I started with a USB mic, and it's like, yeah, well, that's because you're freaking awesome. You're a great voice actor. Not just anybody can do that. So you want to up your chances. Let's say you make an incredible Michelin star worthy dish of some kind, lasagna, I don't know, spaghetti, who cares, hot dog. What's your better chance? Do you go make a lean-to on the side of the street in an alley, a cardboard shelter with a hot plate and make your big Michelin star? Or do you invest in a restaurant with nice fascia and things like that. So that's the point, is that, you know, voice acting is not just, oh, I'm gonna get in a, you know, I'm gonna make silly noises and get in a bunch of games. It just doesn't work that way. It's a business. So you have to invest accordingly. You need to treat it accordingly. You'll need a business license. You'll need it helps to, you know, be an LLC and things like that. So I had to get a business license and all that kind of stuff. And it's, again, I do a lot of office work. It's a lot of admin and stuff. So it's not just about being, oh, I'm going to be a video game voice actor. Well, I mean, if you have a regular job and you're just doing it on the side, fine, good luck. That's hard, because if you're at work, you can't get the audition in quickly, like they will require you sometimes. And, you know, oh, we need you to come in tomorrow. It's 8:00 at night. We need you to come in tomorrow to do this gig. Well, I can't do it because it's 8:00 at night and I can't ask my boss to get off. Well, they're just going to go, okay, well then next. And then you might end up on the do not hire list if you're not careful. So as you can see, there's a lot more to it. And again, like I said, video games, I don't do a whole lot of them. I do some anime and all the rest of it, but I make my living as a commercial voice actor. And again, I say this with compassion and love, and I understand. I'm not trying to defeat your dreams. I'm not dream killer, you know, it's not it at all. It's just, you have to be sober and forward thinking and very, very realistic about it. You're trying to start a business, and it must be treated accordingly. And like I said, you know, you can't start a business unless you're just otherworldly talented. And there's a few of them. I know a couple of them. I've heard them tell the tale. Well, I started with a USB mic, and I just want to go, oh, that's such bad advice though, because you were who you are. You just, that's like the Beatles going, well, we started with, you know, crappy guitars. It's like, yeah, because you're the damn Beatles. You get the idea. You see what I'm saying? If you're, you know, preternaturally talented and just gifted, and you have that kind of work ethic and all the rest of it, because, you know, I work, like I said, 7 days a week, man. I'm in here busting my ass all the time, trying to keep it going. So yeah, it's the work ethic, the hard work, and the preparedness, and again, you know, if a good rate is booking 1 in 50 or 1 in 100 or 1 in whatever, anybody tells you they book 1 in 10, they're full of crap. No, nobody has that booking rate. They might do it like for a week. It's like, oh, I booked 1 in 10 for a couple of days or something. And it's like, all right, good for you. But over any timeline, meaningful timeline, the numbers are like 1 in 35, 1 in 55, 1 in 60, 1 in 70, 1 in 100, 1 in 3, and then it gets where what people don't like to say, 1 in 300, 1 in 1,000, and you know, if you're working that hard, something's wrong. You need to train more. You need to train. You have to, and training's not cheap. You have to get demos. It's like having your headshot if you're an actor. So it's difficult. Work hard and learn everything you can, man, and just, you know, guts, stick-to-itiveness, business acumen, and hard work. And even then you can fail. Look at me with music, you know, and I don't want to say fail, but you know, even then you can struggle. It can be done. You gotta outwork. You gotta outwork, and you gotta prepare, and you have to have all that other stuff going for you.
After speaking with Jas, I let him know how amazed I was by his performances in the games he's been involved in.
That is so cool, man. That's that really, see, for me, that makes me happy, because I want to make something that people like. Yeah. You know, I don't want people to go, you know, or, you know, whatever. It's why I talk so passionately about games. I love games, man. I'm a gamer all my life, and I will be until the day I die. Or until I can't hold a controller or something, you know. But the point is that for you to dig what I've done, man, thank you for playing the game, for giving it a chance, for digging my character. I'm glad that there's something about him that you dig. I mean, first of all, I never make the mistake of conflating myself with him. I'm not Partitio, not even close. I'm closer to Frank than I am Partitio. I mean, there's certain aspects of Partitio in me, of course, but it goes for anybody. But that's what makes a good character, is you see bits of yourself in them, or you'd like to see bits of them in yourself, which is even better, when you're like, oh, I want to be noble like Partitio. I mean, luckily we don't always have to go travel the world, defeating that devil called poverty. Yeah, I mean, it's so dope that you're halfway across the world and you played this game and you dig it, and that it resonates with you. So man, that's a huge gift to me. That's something that I will remember. So you're actually doing me a favor by telling me that. So thank you. Thank you all for playing all the games. Thank you for watching the shows, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for giving me a chance on these characters, and yeah, keep playing them, and yeah, thank you.
Anyway, that's everything wrapped up here. I want to thank Jas very much for taking the time out of his very busy schedule to sit down and do this interview with me. I've put a link to his YouTube page if you guys want to check out his work. I hope you enjoyed his story and his input as well. This is different to my usual style of content, but I have decided I will continue to do interviews with others within the gaming industry going forward, be it designers, actors, developers, or even fans. If you know anyone in the industry who may be interested in sitting down to do an interview, please have them send me a message. As always, thank you all for your support. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I'm Av Gaming, where we do video game analysis, identifying what makes great games great and what could make good games great as well. Thanks for watching. Av out.